Hey guys, what's up? It's Flynn here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys 3 different builds that you should be using on your melee weapons after the Melee 3.0 update. Now, before we move on with the video, I want to give a quick shout out to the YouTuber called Sabmatic. He's a great Warframe YouTuber who made a really good video going into detail about all of the Melee 3.0 changes. It's a 17-minute long video, so if you want to learn a little bit more about the Melee changes than you will from this video, I recommend that you go and check it out. But like I said, in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 different builds: a straight up crit build, a hybrid build between crit chance and status chance, and then a full-on status chance build. Now, status chance melee weapons aren't really the best in class at the minute. I would recommend going for either hybrid or just full-on crit weapons, because crit is still kind of king, but condition overload has got some changes as well, which makes it better than prime pressure point, and I'll explain why in this video, because that's basically all that you need to know whenever it comes to these changes. Yes, you can also go out of your way to make like charge attack builds or heavy attack builds, which are going to be very strong and just one-shotting enemies and stuff like that. But I don't really use charge attacks all that much, and if I do, it's to take out like a heavy enemy like a Nox or something, which I can still do with the builds that I'm going to show you in today's video. So I'm going to be showing off all the builds on the Paracesis because I've just got that extra modding capacity on this weapon, and all of the builds basically work on it as well, so it's going to be a good demonstration of how they work against level 110 corrupted heavy gunners, right? So let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. I sound like Philip DeFranco. But yeah, so the first build is our straight up crit build, and you're going to notice that I've got prime pressure point, Prime Fever Strike, Shocking Touch for our elemental damage. Now, these are the 90% elemental mods opposed to the 60%. We've got Blood Rush on here for our critical chance, which is going to scale with our combo counter. We've got Drifting Contact on here to keep our combo counter up and also give us a little bit of status chance, and you can swap that out for body count if you want. Prime Reach, because Prime Reach is actually really good now on basically every single melee weapon in the game. Even more so for like your shorter melee weapons like the Fang Prime. Organ Shatter, because if you're putting together a crit build, well, you need this on for that extra crit damage, and then Berserker on there because it makes more sense to have Berserker over Prime Fever Strike, or not Prime Fever Strike, Primed Fury, simply because this is going to stack 3 times to get you the 75%, which is really good. So, as I said, I'm going to be testing versus level 110 Corrupted Heavy Gunners. We're just going to go ahead, spawn them in. They're not going to be paused, and I'm not going to blind them. I'm going to keep myself invincible. And you're going to notice that these guys, especially whenever we get into red crit territory, die very, very, very fast. Now, the more you melee, the stronger your melee is going to get, essentially. And, you know, it's just the same as normal, right? You just keep on whacking the enemies, you build up that combo counter, and then they die. Pretty bog standard, honestly. But, yeah, you can do this build with any crit melee weapon in the game, but I would recommend using the hybrid builds that we're going to show off in just a second if your melee weapon is balanced between crit chance and status chance. So this build, realistically, is only going to be for those melee weapons that have, you know, a lot of crit chance, but not a lot of status chance, right? If you got a balance between the two, you're going to want to be using the hybrid build. So jumping on to the hybrid builds. The hybrid build has basically 2 changes, right? So we replace our prime pressure point for condition overload, and this is because condition overload is now an additive bonus opposed to a multiplicative, right? So what happens is that 120% melee damage that you see now acts just like prime pressure point, right? So prime pressure point is 165%. So if you're only applying one status effect on an enemy, then it's going to be better to use prime pressure point. But if you're going to be applying 2, then it's going to be better to use condition overload. And that's why we went for the 60% elemental mods, because having that bonus status chance is going to allow us to get those status elements affected on the enemies a lot more consistently, which means that we're going to get that bonus damage from condition overload more consistently as well, right? So that's really all that's changed. If you look at the difference between the 2 builds, you know, Blood Rush, Drifting Contact, Prime Reach, Organ Shatter, and Berserker all stay the same, and you're going to notice that this build is just as good, if not better, than the standard crit build. So this is the build that I would go for if you have a decent crit chance and also a decent status chance on your melee weapon from the get-go. So again, level 110 heavy gunners. No blinding, no pausing, or anything like that. Jump in here, build up your combo counter, build up your Berserker for that attack speed, which will increase our DPS, and you can see that these guys die, in my opinion, faster, right? So both builds definitely work. It just depends on the base stats of your melee weapon. You can also get stances, which are going to apply like status effects like slash or something on heavy attacks. So you may want to even like start your combo off with a heavy attack or something to like, you know, get a bonus status effect on there to increase your damage. Or you could run a frame like Saren or something, or any elemental frame in the game to get those bonus status effects on those enemies before you start meleeing them. So pretty good build, really powerful, probably my favorite out of the three that I'm going to show you. And now we're going to move on to my least favorite build, which is the status build. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but status builds are pretty lackluster now. I would go for the hybrid build personally. I would stay away from going 100% status, because with the status build, you're not taking advantage of the scaling crit with the combo multiplier, so you're losing out on a lot of damage there. So I wouldn't go for the 100% status build or a 100% status-based melee weapon in the first place. I would just use like literally anything else, honestly. So yeah, this is our status build, and because we're lacking in those crit mods, we have basically 3 flex slots, right? So we've got our condition overload for our damage, because we're going to be applying those status effects. Prime Reach on there, because we want that range as well. Violent Scourge and Voltaic Strike, because we want the bonus status chance and we want our elemental damage. And then Prime Fury on there, because we can't run Berserker for our attack speed, which is going to increase our DPS. So we just basically have to replace Berserker. So 3 flex slots. Now you can do with this as you please. You can throw more elemental damage on, or you can go for Drifting Contact and Weeping Winds combo. I wouldn't go for the Weeping Winds and Drifting Contact combo, because, is it called Drifting Contact? I'm pretty sure it is, yeah, Drifting Contact. I almost forgot because I've been away from the game for that long. I wouldn't go for Weeping Winds, because your status chance is going to cap out at 100%, basically always, right? So, I don't know, I think it's a waste of a mod slot. You can get more burst DPS whenever you're going with a mixture of 60% elemental mods and 90% elemental mods. So realistically, it's a battle between consistent DPS and burst DPS, right? So if you want your damage to be consistent, you would go for the Weeping Winds and your Drifting Contact with like 1 extra elemental mod, or you can go for the higher burst DPS, which overall is more damage, but it's just going to come in burst, right? So that would be your 90% elemental mods mixed in with 60% elemental mods. So I'm going to show you guys what I would do if I would build Weeping Winds. So let's just go ahead and get it up. Weeping Winds, we go on there. Then you bring out your Drifting Contact, and then that go there, and then you have this last slot on here, and then you can put on, you know, like, let's say, because we're building this around applying status effects, right, we'd throw on a 60% fire mod, right, so Volcanic Edge. So let's just go ahead, jump this, or try this here build out. We've got 70% status chance on here. So let's see how effective this is. So I'm just basically going to be showing you the difference between this consistent DPS builds with the status chance versus the what's it called, the burst DPS. So as you can see, they still die, definitely. It's still a good build. It's just your crit is a lot more DPS, you know what I mean? So it's not as good, and you're relying on those status effects to be applied for your main source of damage, right? So I'm not going to sit here forever and kill all of these heavy gunners, because that would be a waste of my time and yours, but you get the gist of it, right? Like, you apply the status effects, and then your damage starts to ramp up. So, I don't know, pretty lackluster in my opinion, but if you're going to go for a status chance build, that would be the build that I would go for. Now, let's swap it up a little bit, and then go for our burst DPS, right? So we remove Weeping Winds and we remove Drifting Contact. We've got our Violent Scourge, we've got our Voltaic Strike, we've got our Volcanic Edge on there, because we're going to be building Corrosive and Fire. So what we would do now is we would throw on the likes of like Prime Fever Strike, and then maybe also Molten Impact on there, just to increase our elemental damage, right? So in my opinion, you're probably going to get more damage off of this build just in bursts. So as you can see, it's more or less the same. It's just the numbers are higher, right? Because you're not relying on the what's it called, the condition overload to carry the build, right? So you've just got that little bit extra elemental damage on there, which is helping out a decent bit. So out of the two, this is my preferred status build, but somebody can go and crunch the numbers if they really want to, looking into the weeping winds and drifting contact. But personally, I just wouldn't be building 100% status or going towards status weapons to begin with anyway. Now, one thing that I didn't mention is that if you are the type of person who doesn't have Prime Fury, like you're unfortunate and you don't have it, that's my Excalibur build, you don't want to be running regular Fury, because regular Fury is actually only 30%. We look at this mod down here, which is quickening, we've got 40% attack speed. So this would be your new sort of go-to attack speed mod if you don't have Berserker and you don't have Prime Fury, right? So quickening is now kind of like replaced Fury in all the sort of beginner builds. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, that is basically melee. My favorite out of them is definitely the hybrid one, because it just shreds things and it's awesome. You can probably get better results with the status build on a weapon which is 100% status, because you're getting those status procs down more consistently. But if you're looking for just a really good weapon, go for something that has high base damage and has also got a good balance between crit chance and status chance, and obviously a good crit multiplier as well. And then go for this hybrid build, because this hybrid build is ridiculous. We just shred free enemies no matter what we're doing, right? And then you can incorporate your heavy attacks in there as well, and just like take out like half a health bar or something of a large enemy, or just keep on spamming E. It's totally up to you. I just keep on spamming E. But yeah, this is the new melee system. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. Dislike the video if you disliked it. Subscribe for more Warframe content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.